welcome back to episode 111 of Tall Boy Radio. If you were with us last week, thank you very much, and I apologise for the amount of beer, whiskey and tequila that we got through, because by the end of it, we were slurring something rotten, which is why we decided to call that episode Drunken Ramblings Part 3. We were joined by my cousin Bo, all the way from San Antonio in Texas, so he's made it there back safely and really enjoyed his trip, and we're looking forward to the next time that we can meet up. So we've got a guest tonight and we're going to be chatting to him shortly. But before I introduce him, let me introduce our other host, which is Gaz, because there's no Andy tonight. Unfortunately, he isn't well. But Gaz, if you want to say hello, dude.
Hi guys. Great to be back again. Looking forward to this. Enjoyed last week's with Bo. Always love having guests on the podcast. So really looking forward to this episode. Wondering where it's going to go. Just for you guys out there, I'm drinking tonight. I don't know if you can quite see that. An Elvis juice, which is there you go, lovely. And just in case that goes, which it probably will, I've then got a proper job, which is about a 5.5%. So hopped IPA, so looking forward to that, and yeah, looking forward to where this is going.
Nice one. Well, I normally would tell you what beer I am drinking, but this is an absolute first on Tall Boy Radio. I've got a sinus infection, I'm on antibiotics, so I am drinking lemonade. I promise you that is all that's in there, and it is nothing to do with the amount of alcohol we got through the other week, I can promise you that, and I don't think that's why Andy's not here either. So let's introduce our guests. So this week we are joined by Al, who I think is based somewhere in and around the Manchester area. So if you want to say hello, Al.
Hi, yeah, that's right. Hi, I'm Al. On social media, I guess I'm Al Shep MCR. Hello.
That's it, yeah. So if you go onto Instagram or if you go onto Twitter at Al Shep MCR, you'll be able to see all the stuff that he does. And that's probably really where I first came across you, was on Instagram. As you know, as we well know, I'm a bit of a fan of Manchester music, such as is yourself, I'm guessing. That's the reason why you use some of that music. Yeah. But you use it rather uniquely though as well, don't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about just what you do on social media first before we get into the other stuff that you do?
So basically, I'm a mental health nurse, so I am interested in that. I've worked in a psych hospital for the last 37 and a half years, so I am interested in mental health. I've seen a lot of stuff, I guess. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in the Manchester music. How can you be 55, born in Manchester and not be mad on the Manchester music? And I also like art. So I've kind of come up with something to throw them all together.
Fair. Yeah, fair play. So what, 37 plus years in men? I tell you, that must take its toll on you. You must, like I say, you must have seen some things.
Yeah, I like it. I really like it. It's dead interesting. Meet interesting people, work with interesting people. I really like it.
Yeah, I bet you do. So, and obviously you use your social media and some other things to draw attention to what I wrote it down. So, getting people to think differently about people who think differently. I think that's a fantastic quote.
Yeah, I really like that term. I don't think I invented that phrase. I must have seen it somewhere, and it just really hit hard on me. I thought, wow, that says exactly what I want to say. I want people to think about the people who think differently, but think about them in a different way. So think differently about people who think differently. It says it all, really.
Because I think that's it. Because I think that that there are perceptions and quite a lot of the time sort of misconceptions about certain people, and I think it's brilliant that yourself and lots of other people out there that are trying to get people to turn their view and to think about different people in different ways. And I think it's fantastic what you do, because there are lots of misconceptions and there's lots of people that will have preconceived ideas about what should be or shouldn't be. And I think that the more that people like yourself can spread awareness is brilliant, and like I say, I've come across you on Twitter and stuff, so it's fantastic what you're doing.
It is about awareness, and I know every time you turn the telly on, the likes of Lorraine Kelly's talking about mental health and Ant Dec and all that, and I think that they just say the term, really. it seems the trendy thing to do.
Yeah, and that is the thing, I suppose, at the moment, and I think we all have to be a little bit more mindful of it. I don't work in mental health. I work in retail, and it's something that we have to be more mindful of. I've been doing that for nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, it was never part of the conversation. It was literally get your carrots on the shelves, get your peas sold, jobs are good. But now we are actually, we're charged with understanding how our employees work and how we get the best out of them. And to be able to do that, you need to understand what makes them tick. And in this modern day and age, the pressures that people are under, and especially given what we've just gone through over the last 2 years and this last pandemic, and the way that we've dealt with it in terms of lockdowns has put extra pressure on people, and trying to understand that and understand what motivates people and the effect then that it has on people. And what I could do to help, I don't know. I think the best we can do, is to be as understanding as we can with people's needs. But I guess have you seen more issues with people then over the last 2 years, or
stress? And it doesn't matter whether you're me or you or anyone else. Everyone has got stress, and my stress might be different to yours, and my coping might be different to yours. I use an analogy of a cup, basically, and if that's the person, everyone is pouring a bit of water in it, and family life, work life, money issues, COVID, a war, and at some point that cup is going to overspill. So we do things to contain it, really, to get a bit of water out the cup every now and again, whether it's you having a drink or someone going to the gym or going a run or.
And absolutely, and I think you talk about stress, you talk about mental health in the workplace, and everybody needs an element of stress in their life because it's part of natural life. For whatever, it could be money, it could be work, it could be family, it could be whatever it may be. But it's A, having an awareness of that, but B, also having an awareness of how that impacts on other areas of your life, because everybody has. You need stress. You need at some point that adrenaline rush. You need that, whatever it may be. But it's having an awareness of where that sits on your, I suppose, your equilibrium. It's where's the tipping point. And over the last 2-3 years, I work in a sort of special independent school. Lots of our pupils have social, emotional, mental health.
Yeah.
They come with the HCPs, so education healthcare plans. So I'm very much aware of the impact of mental health and the impact of social and emotional needs. So it's having an awareness of where is their norm, and then what are the trigger factors that might then elevate. And I think over the last couple of years with COVID and everything else, it's become a bit of a buzzword. It's like mental health, and I think you're right. I think there's lots of people that throw it out there that actually don't necessarily understand exactly what it is. And it has become this buzz phrase. I think the more people like yourself, the more people, the more sort of qualified people out there as such that work in it or around it can talk about it, the better we're going to be. What you don't want is people just jumping on the bandwagon and then it becoming it's just a throwaway phrase. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to go away. It's not throwaway.
No.
It's people's lives. It's there, and it's real.
Yeah.
How people cope or don't cope.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's real. It is there, and it is going to continue to be there. It's not going to go away.
I don't think there's anyone who can be sat at home looking on Instagram thinking, "Oh well, it won't affect me," because or someone they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's it. And I guess when you think back as well, and you look at your friend list, you do know the people who've had a tougher time than some. And again, like you say, it all goes down to how you cope. But how do we remove that stigma? How do we as people take away our discomfort in talking about that? How
discomfort's a really good word, because people squirm really at the thought of it, and you know, the stuff I do, I guess, putting this mask on at work, I'm a nurse, I wear a tunic and I think like a nurse. And I guess if I put my fox head on or this, and I think in a different way, like a bit arty, if you like. And it does make people feel uncomfy, like these masks, they're scary. Who wants to see someone like this in the living room? They don't. You know, you only see this when someone's breaking in, I guess.
This is true. This is true.
Uncomfy. And the subject matter is really uncomfy as well. No one wants to talk about it. It's a dirty word, really. So when I'm in work, I'm used to all that terminology, but I guess people on the street are not used to the terminology. So I'm trying to do it in a different way. You know, I like the Manchester stuff. I listen to the songs probably for 35 years and just pick out certain words or certain lyrics that might not be about mental illness, but I can see mental illness in that, where, I don't know, is it the Hindu Times by Oasis? I get up when I'm down. Oh, that might be about depression.
Yeah.
So that's how I've been listening to the songs and pull them out. And I know maybe people like you who know the songs might scratch their heads and think, God, where does that song come from? I know that line. And hopefully it'll reel you in a little bit, and you might look into it a bit more and think, oh, well, what's that about?
Well, I can tell you now that the second you post anything that's a Morrissey lyric, I spot it almost instantly. Some of the other stuff, not always quite as quickly.
Because people love him or hate him, don't they? Really, at the minute.
Well, they do, you know, and he certainly polarizes this podcast from time to time. I love him, as we discovered last week. Andy's becoming a little bit of a Morrissey.
I can't believe that. Never in my lifetime did I think that was going to be the case.
Bless him. If only he was here to defend himself as well. And I have to say, so go and tell me about these masks as well, because obviously you got the fox and the Labrador and the kitten.
And
the cat, yeah.
So basically, initially when I started doing it, I remember I bought a stencil and I thought, that'll be good. I can slogan something on a cardboard box. A bit like that. So this type of thing. And I thought, easy. And I want something that's really quick. So I know using a stencil will be quick. I don't need any skill. I could just do it quick and get my message across. Initially, the idea was from like the Homesick Blues video where he's holding up the message. And I think in the 80s, Vitalite even did a pastiche of it, holding up messages and things like Love Actually. He knocks on the door telling his girlfriend, oh, I love you. And homeless people hold up little messages, and protesters are holding up messages. And I just thought, that's a really easy way to get your point across. In the 80s, the Stone Roses sprayed the Stone Roses throughout Manchester. And I thought, wow, I like that. People attention.
Yeah.
So, and it's an easy thing to do. I can knock one out in 20 minutes, really. I forgot what the original question was now.
Yeah, so, I was asking about the masks. Yeah, the masks.
So I started off, I got my kids to stand next to the white background holding up a sign like this. And they was a bit embarrassed. They said, Dad, we don't want people seeing who we are. So even before COVID, I put bandanas on them and thought, oh, they look like little gangsters type thing. So it disguised them. And as they got older in the teens, they said, Dad, we don't want to be doing it. It's not cool doing that. You're a divvy. We don't want to do that. So I thought, bloody hell, I'll have to do it myself. I don't want people looking at my ugly mug. So I thought, how could I maintain my confidentiality type thing?
Yeah.
No one wants to see me holding up a banner. It's boring. So I thought, oh, the fox said foxes are dangerous and vulnerable and things like that. So I put that on, like, that could be like someone with a psychosis, really. People see them as dangerous, but they're vulnerable at the same time. So I thought, yeah, fox head will do. And then I just got others to break it up a little bit, really.
Yeah. And that's brilliant, though. That you look at
my face because it's boring.
But that's brilliant because people will have a perception of a fox, and it's either A or B. It's either actually, you know what, they're quite dangerous or they're quite destructive, or other people will go, oh, actually no, they're beautiful animals, and or, and they're both. And I suppose that's what you're saying, isn't it? It's the perception of them, but actually they can be, and they are, depending on, and it's trying to make people aware of that. And that's the same with human beings, isn't it? So that's brilliant. I love that analogy. That is brilliant.
Yeah. So that just ended up making this a style, really, where I thought if I had a mask on, holding up a board on this white background, and I made the videos really flashy and disjointed, and people either liked it or said, "Oh God, that's disturbing. I can't be looking at that." But that's the idea as well. That really enhanced the idea of the stigma and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll be honest, I hadn't put two and two together with the duality of a fox's personality in terms of, like you say, the predatory, the people are afraid of them, but at the same time they are vulnerable creatures. I had foxes living in the bottom of one of my gardens, and they were beautiful. They're beautiful creatures to watch. When I moved into the house, I hadn't been there very long, but the house had stood empty for about 2 or 3 years before I moved in, and it had just gone to sleep at the bottom of the garden. And I'd seen it from upstairs, and I remember walking down, and I got within touching distance of it, and it didn't jump up and attack me like you probably expected to when you see it in the news. It fled.
Yeah.
Actually, I felt a bit sad. Actually, I thought, well, I wish I'd just left it sleep. Actually, because I think it was pregnant as well. That's by the by. But when I saw the masks, actually, it reminded me a little bit of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Audrey Hepburn, George Peppard, when they're wearing those masks in Tiffany's, and they're going there and they're meeting up in that film, and it reminded me a little bit of that. I didn't know if that was any of the inspiration for it.
I've heard the title. I haven't seen that.
Oh, I love that film. It's an excellent film.
Really?
Yeah,
well, I like the idea of it, and it just looks a bit surreal. Sometimes when my kids wouldn't do it, I had my 8-year-old mum start at a bus stop with a fox head on and a fur coat, and she must have thought, "What the bloody hell am I?" I'm filming her at the bus stop saying, "Stand up, sit down, turn this way."
Yeah. That's it. You got to get some use out of them, haven't you? You know what I mean? But bless them. And I can guess it with my kids. My kids are 5 and 2, and I can't coerce them to do anything for the podcast, so I can sympathise with you for that one.
So my eldest listens to the podcast, but she won't come on it. That's about. Well, actually, she probably would come on it. My eldest one, if I let her, but I'm not going to let her.
That's it. So, like I say, the disjointed nature of the videos, and I guess it reminds me a little bit of almost like a strobing lights when you see the. Almost like the asylums as the sort of set in those films. It is strobing, like the creatures approaching you, and it is alarming. And I guess the change in your demeanor from scene to scene, I guess that does sort of that lends itself really, really well to that sort of message that you want to get across in terms of mental health.
Focus just on that message. Like the song might go on for 3 minutes, and I'm probably just using between 5 and 10 seconds, really. So just hearing that bit, and sometimes I've repeated them, and it must drive people mad.
No, never. But I tell you what, though, you've done a few recently, which is just yourself and the Mask just reciting some of the lyrics. So we had "There Is a Light" from the Smiths, and then Joy Division as well. You'd put one out earlier on "Love Will Tear Us Apart." Love that song.
I just tried. I'm a one-trick donkey, really. I've probably got one idea, but I try to do it in some different ways. So sometimes I've got that fake snow and sprayed it on a bus stop and wrote something. I don't want to make a mess of where we live and the police would go mad. So I tried to do it in an okay way. One thing that ended up in the Manchester Evening News, I did stencil on double yellow lines in Manchester, and it ended up in the Manchester Evening News, which was really good. Like, wowzer, who could have dreamt of that? And then a week later, the police did an article saying, "We really like the Smiths. Some crimes are bigger than others, but it's still illegal, but we like."
That's excellent. Oh, that is excellent.
So that was really good. I thought that was great, really.
Yeah, that's good that you get that level of attention to that as well, and that actually it's seen, could be seen as a negative, but you got the likes of you got the likes of Banksy doing what he does around the place as well. You know what I mean? It's similar along those lines as well, isn't it?
I find it really cathartic. So I'll be driving to work with my tunes on just on a random play, and then I'll hear a line, and then for the next few days I'll just keep thinking about that lyric, and then when I get the time, I'll come in, scribble the stencil out, put my mask on, and film it as quick as I can before we need to do the hoovering.
Yeah, always find jobs to put off the hoovering.
And once I've done it, I've got it out in my head. I can move on to the next thing then.
Yeah, and do you find that if you do get something in your head, it not quite eats at you, but it's just there constantly. Yeah.
Just want to get it done and get it out in my head. Once I've done it, I've done it.
Yeah.
So then I tried to adapt it, and the last few months I've done some drawings of like self-portraits of me in the masks, holding up the signs. Again, it's just the same but different, and I like that saying, the same but different. You know,
what? I was going to ask.
The bloody same, but they're all different, if you like.
Absolutely. I was going to ask actually about those drawings. So that's yourself who does those, is it?
Yeah.
Because you're quite talented, if you don't mind me saying. So they are. There's a definite. I mean, it certainly beats my sort of stick drawings that I can muster up. But no, you
can probably draw and paint a lot better than me. But it's the idea. As long as you can tell what it is, that's good enough, really. Good enough.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. You should be very you should be very, very proud of that. So what's next for these things? Where do you see this going?
I don't really know. I haven't got like a 5-year plan with it. Yeah. I think I've probably been on Twitter for about, I think it was 10 years yesterday. It popped up, and I just keep doing it. I haven't really got a plan, and in a way, I know it's safe to keep going back to the same old ones. So I'll try something different, stenciling on balloons or something, or in the fake snow, or on labels, or that type of thing, and then come back to the holding up the board again. Yeah, so I do want to keep adapting it, but not too much. I don't want it to change so it doesn't look like that, really.
Yeah. I guess you want to keep that message. I tell you what would be great though, if hopefully you appreciate the fact that we picked it up.
Yeah.
But it would be great if someone a little bit more notorious, someone a little bit more famous than us were to pick it up. I always think something like that. If we can get that message out there, it just takes. We always say this with our stuff. It takes the right person to share it, to get that message out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's luck as well. A bit of me thinks maybe I had me 15 minutes of fame when it was in the evening news. And I always think that there's a lot of good bands playing in the bedroom and the garage, and there's a lot of crap on X Factor. And it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're playing in your bedroom, you're crap, and you're on X Factor, you're good. So I think it's the same with me. I'm not saying I'm amazing, but you need a bit of luck just to get seen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just that one, I don't know, famous person, or that one that want to either retweet or say, actually, you know what, you hit a bit of a chord with me, I'll come and record something with you, or I'll do a picture myself, or I'll do a little placard, or I'll do a sign, and you use that, and all of a sudden all of their followers are like, oh my god, it's fantastic. And then it's just that one bit of luck. It's that timing, isn't it? It's just having that right person, that right time, that right place. But there's lots of people out there on doing podcasts, doing social media, that actually they just churn out the same old dirge, and it's absolutely garbage. Whereas actually people like yourself that have got a really important message that you're trying to get out there don't.
Well, it's nice. Some people probably see my stuff and say, that divvy's just churning that crap out.
I'm not so sure.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do it?
Yeah, we hear that a lot as well. No, we don't.
What you want to do a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's it. And if it resonates with somebody, then we always think this. If what we do resonates with somebody, then it was worthwhile, and then it makes a difference.
There's a bar for work. I don't go in the bar, but I've contacted them, and they've said that they will put some of the drawings of the masks. I'll get them framed, and they said that they'll put them in the bar for a few months in the summer. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. That would be good.
The bar will probably know the songs and say, "Oh, I'm sure that's from whatever song."
Yeah, but it's a talking point, isn't it? And what you want is you want people talking, and you want people to be openly talking about it and not shying away from perhaps some of the difficult conversations that historically they might think that they have, and you want it to just be normal conversation.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, and people start talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, where are they from? Oh, they're from Al, and Al uses them. Oh, what does Al talk about? And so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And that's more people talking about it then.
Yeah, so then job done, if you like.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
A load more to keep them talking and get other people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is the challenge, isn't it? And ultimately, I suppose that's the whole thing about this, isn't it? It's to get people talking and get people talking about mental health. So with that in mind, then obviously, so based. I mean, I guess in the pressures of being in this, well, we're country boys, aren't we? Really, we live in a nice little town. So in terms of Manchester at the moment, have you seen are you seeing a change in lifestyle there? Certainly financially, people are feeling the pinch there. So there must be an expectation over the next couple of years that you're going to be quite busy at work in terms of what you're going to be dealing with. Is that something that you're expecting?
I think the world's obviously changed, hasn't it? When I was a kid, so 15 to 30, I probably went to Manchester Town Centre probably 5 nights a week, really. And I felt safe and didn't really see any trouble in 15 years, where now I've got kids who are teenagers and I think, God, they're thinking of going to Piccadilly Gardens. Whoa, don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Is it as safe as it used to be? Maybe it is, and social media's changed. When we was kids, it didn't get talked about as much, but now people didn't share what they had for tea or when they've had their haircut.
It's been a while since I had my haircut, but it's very true. We talked about this a couple of episodes ago, where we said, is the world a more dangerous place? Well, actually, is it just that you're more aware of it because it gets shared on social media? And I don't know which it is, and like I say, my kids are quite young. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to know which one it is right now.
The world's a dangerous place, doesn't it? And the world is a safe place, but it's a dangerous place at the same time. You need to be aware of where you're going, and have some resilience, and not put yourself in vulnerable situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's an element of, because of the number of news stations, because of the amount of social media, the amount of written press, and so on and so on. I think there's more awareness of some of the dangers, and they're highlighted. Like, what is the world a more dangerous place now than it used to be? I don't know, but you could argue no. It's just that we're more aware of it, and therefore it's in the mainstream news now. And you hear stories of groups of kids that would go out and something would happen to them, whereas years ago groups of kids would go out and something might still happen to them, but you wouldn't hear about it just because it's not reported. People haven't got mobile phones with video and everything and putting it on social media. So I think, is it more dangerous? I don't know. Is there more awareness? Yes. Is it highlighted more? Yes. Are there more ways of reporting on it? Yes. That doesn't necessarily mean it is more dangerous. It's just that we just see it more. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, crimes were still committed. It wasn't as though nothing happened all those years ago. You just didn't really hear about them. The only really way you heard about them was if they were either on BBC One or ITV, or you open up a newspaper. That was it. Now you've got all your social media channels, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah, you just can't avoid it. So it's an awareness. It's not necessarily more or less dangerous. You just know more about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I guess when we think about mental health as well, we think about cures as well, but and how you deal with the effects of that. But for me, it's the same. The thing that we need to look at first, and it's the same with everything. Rather than when it gets to a stage where we're having to deal with it and picking up the pieces, it's dealing with it before it becomes a problem. So
I totally agree with that. So, you know, there's no point ploughing the money in at the end. You need to plough it in at the beginning with kids and all that, don't you, really? Try and get it can be so they're robust and resilient, really.
There's a great phrase, that, and it's an analogy in sort of schools and stuff. And we have a lot of pupils who maybe mainstream isn't for them, and that they maybe have a number of social emotional issues. And what you're trying to say is, rather than maybe downstream trying to rescue them from the river, it's actually putting things in place to stop them going into the river in the first place. It's the further upstream you can go, the better you're going to be. Because if you can stop it at source, then actually you haven't got to deal with and pick up the consequences later. So you haven't got to pick him up downstream. And lots of people feel as though they need to be rescued downstream. But I think yes, they do need rescuing. But I think the important work is further upstream in what are the things that you can do. What can you do from, you know, to safeguard them, to look after them, whether it be physical or mental health? What are the things that you can do to ensure that they don't get in the position?
Yeah, they might get a small level of input at the beginning, rather than getting a lifeboat out later on when it's gone really bad. And they always say, you know, prevention is better than cure and all that. So if you can put the money into raising awareness, self-help groups, you know, online communities that are there to help and support and all of that, then that's where we should focus. And I'm not saying that if people are already suffering from it, you ignore them. I'm absolutely not saying that. Of course you do. But in order to, in my opinion, to try to help the situation in the long term, So we're not dedicating resources that actually could be rededicated elsewhere. I think the more that you can do, to carry on the analogy, upstream, to stop that happening in the first place, means that actually you've then got less people to rescue downstream, which actually might need more resources and more input, because actually upstream is shallower water, so you haven't got as much to deal with, whereas downstream it becomes much harder to rescue them. Once you've been on that road of perhaps poor mental health, bad mental health for a period of time, it's going to take more to help you and support you. You know, so for me, it's what can we do in the very early recognition, early treatment, early and all of those things. And that's where we should be focusing a lot of our resources. And that's what we try to do. You know, the school I work at, that's what we try to do. In as much as we try to help them so they don't get to the point where actually it's almost their last resort, if that makes sense. Yeah, of course it does. Some of the other things that I have done used as like inspiration or assessment tools. So there's they probably call it the psychopath test, where it's personality disorder assessment tool. And I've used the headings of that held up on like the cardboard boxes to raise awareness. And to me, it's kind of day-to-day stuff. But I guess if the man on the street sees that, they think, whoa, what's that about? And some people relate themselves to some of the points and say, God, well, I do that. I've had whatever it is, a troubled childhood or a bit of low-level criminality in my youth or whatever. So I think that made it's kind of an interesting idea, or asking questions. So I like the idea of getting, say, a depression assessment tool and scribbling it on a bus stop. So someone at the bus stop might just read a couple of questions out of, you know, it's in the wrong place, really.
Out of context. Yeah.
So I'm interested in things like that.
It's strange because there's a lot to be said for your visual reasoning, so almost out of context. If you see something out of context, you'll notice it because actually it's out of context. If you see something that looks in the wrong place, you're probably going to pay slightly more attention to it than if you got given somebody a list of, you know, big list of things on a piece of paper and you ask them to read through it, because they'll get to number 3 or 4 and they go and they lose interest. Whereas if you see something out of context,
it's more noticeable.
It's more noticeable. It piques you, and so therefore you're probably going to pay more attention to it. So I absolutely love that idea. Whether it's quotes, whether it's self-help groups, whether it's images, or whatever it may be, out of context in a place that you don't necessarily think of.
In the wrong place.
In the wrong place. So you look at it, you go, "That's in the wrong place. What's that doing there?"
In the doctor's surgery, you expect to see a load of leaflets on how to manage A, B, and C, but you know, paste them on the bottom of the swimming pool. No one expects to see them there.
Yeah.
Feed them more.
Yeah.
I know, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea, because actually, when you think about how the brain works and how you process stuff, that because you instantly notice it because it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Love that.
Yeah, it's a good shout. That is a good shout. I mean, for me as well, you sort of talking about the dealing with it before it becomes a problem. I think, I think we can go one step earlier and actually get, if everybody's talking about it before it's even an issue. I would probably say I don't consider myself to have had any troubles or travails, and I'm fortunate in that respect that I've never had any of those problems, in my previous 48 years. But there's no guarantee that ain't, it's not going to set me up for my late years. But I just think if we've got people, if we're talking about the things, the signs that we need to look out for, the conversations that we need to be having, then that's something that we need to be doing almost on a day-to-day basis before it becomes an issue. Like Gaz says, in schools, obviously you're probably trained to look out for that kind of thing. Well, people like myself, people coming into doing my job later in life, they're going to want to. They need to. I need to understand the signs better, so I can understand. I just understand people.
And I think it's what Ali's saying is it's not necessarily the people who are in the profession that not are aware of and work in and around people that suffer from poor mental health. I mean, everybody has mental health. I mean, that's the bottom line. Every single person on this planet has mental health, and it's a continuum. So let's get rid of this rubbish about, oh, it's mental health. Every single person suffers from mental health, but it's on a continuum.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So that's the first myth, I suppose. Oh, you've got mental health issues. Well, everyone has mental health issues. It's just you're on a continuum. So so that's the first thing you can dispel. But I think the more people that you can make aware who perhaps aren't used to seeing it day in, day out and are working with it, whether it's Al, as a nurse, whether it's people that work with myself in education that work with social, emotional, mental health needs, whether it's GPs, hospital doctors and so on, the more people outside of those parameters that you can make aware of some of the issues, early warning signs, interaction and communication between colleagues and all of that sort of stuff, the better position we're going to be in. Because actually, and there's a couple of, you see things on various social media and it's like, what, just text somebody that you haven't texted in the last 3 or 4 months. Just checking in, mate. You okay? Literally, just, if every single person just did that, did that one thing, you go through your list and think, God, I haven't spoken to him for a while. Hi, mate, I haven't spoken for a while. How's things? And it's just a dead simple thing.
Yeah,
you go literally just go through your messages. Go, who's the person? Geez, I haven't texted him, or I haven't messaged him, or I haven't tweeted him, or I haven't, and it's just that it's one simple thing that every single person can do. And he might come back and go, yeah, sound, how are you? Yeah, brilliant. No bother, mate. How's the family? Did it? And then it's done then. Do you know? But he might go, actually, I'm struggling a bit.
Yeah.
And you go, it's just asking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
It literally is. You just go through your messages and you go, right, when was the last time? And it's just, you pick that one person, or you go through and you go, Jesus, what are we now, March? Oh my God, I haven't spoken to him since November. Oh, it's been a while, mate. It's still okay. How's things? How's the missus? How's the family? How's the dog? How's the cat? Whatever it may be, but just check in with someone that you haven't. How's the fox? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But just check in with somebody that you haven't checked in with for ages. And if it starts a conversation and that then makes them in a better place, then fantastic. And you never know, somebody might do it to you and you go, yeah, everything's all good, mate. Yeah, sound. And if you do, great.
Yeah, one was doing it.
Doesn't matter, does it? There's no problem. If someone fires back and goes, oh yeah, brilliant, mate. Yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. Fantastic. But if that one person fires back and goes, oh, cheers for the text, I've been really struggling recently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just that. So I think that's a really good. It's just literally just choose one person, and you don't have to do 20 people. It's just choose that one person or 2 people you haven't spoken to for ages just to check in.
Yeah, I like that. It is a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. That's something that we can encourage all of our listeners to do as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
something that I should be doing myself a little bit of. So, being based in Manchester, then obviously we know the type of music then that you do enjoy. Obviously, we can get to concerts now again. Is that something that you do? Is that something you do? Is that something a way you unwind?
Blasted it in the past. More recently, I think, bloody hell, I'm 55. Do we need to be at the front with a load of like 20-year-olds?
Yeah.
Gone are your days where you're in the mosh pit then, are you? So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Forget that.
I'll be honest with you.
Life takes over a bit. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, a mate of mine invited me to a concert recently. It was a guy I'd never heard of, a guy called Jamie Webster from another northern town. It begins with an L and ends in Poole. And to be fair, he was pretty good. And briefly, I said to the guys, I found myself there in a mosh pit, and just very briefly, I was 20 years old again. I forgot that my knees were knackered, and there was a good chance that if one of them lads bowled into me, I was going to go down and not get up very quickly. But honestly, it's great, and I've missed it, and I've really, really missed it, and I keep checking social media, and I hope that Morrissey's going to be touring again recently, because it's been, I think 2018 Leeds was the last time I got to see Morrissey.
For the lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, he'd done one in Manchester, and obviously he'd said a few controversial things, as he's prone to do, and I'd got tickets to that one as well. I forget where it was, but it was an outdoor one, and I've never seen him outdoor, and I had tickets to that, and unfortunately that one got cancelled, which was disappointing. But yeah, I'm very, very much like to get to see Morrissey again. I really would. Have you ever seen him live?
I haven't. No. I haven't, and he's the person whose lyrics I probably use the most, but because he's got such a big back catalogue, there's a lot to go at, really.
That's it, and the thing, like you say, that the thing about Morrissey's lyrics, and I apologise, guys, because I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, is they are almost entirely open for interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. I make them fit for what I want to say. Are you a song and hear something else?
That's it, and I always think that when he wrote them, because a lot of people put a lot of importance on what he was trying to say when he wrote them, but I don't, because for me, the reason why I like listening to his music and listening to his lyrics is because they can mean something personal to you and to me, and like you say, and if you can use them for what you use them for, that's, fair play.
It comes about you and me, could it?
Well, that would be very strange if he did.
Us then, aren't they? And people like us.
That's it. But yeah, I would look. That's one thing I'm looking forward to is getting to hear some new music from him again. We're waiting for this Bonfire of the Teenagers album to come out, and no doubt give you some more material to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of getting to see him again, I would. So any of those bands. So which of the bands then that you've seen live that have resonated with you?
The Stone Roses really was my fix. So probably from about 1987, I was getting into them and started seeing them well before the albums come out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And then I wish they'd never got back together, really. It burst the bubble, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, you've gone a bit shit now, haven't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. That Stone Roses album, that original album, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it out there, and to then try and repeat that, well, it was never going to happen, was it? Really?
No.
And
keep up.
That's it, and they went and shot themselves in the foot a little bit as well with the way they dealt with stuff. And again, I think this is why some of the music that you use really lends itself very, very well to what you do, because of the type of characters that have done it over the years. Especially when you look at a Joy Division as well, and the troubles that chap had as well.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah, it's inspiring, really.
Yeah.
And it's funny that 35 years later, I'm still scribbling his lyrics on a cardboard box.
They won't be doing that with the guys from One Direction. I can promise you that. I'd like to think not. Anyway, I would like to think not. So I tell you one band I love as well, Spiral Carpets. They're one that's underrated. That's one that you don't hear too much. Have you used any of their lyrics?
Only this is how it feels to be lonely, and that's a great song. That is like amazing. The lyrics to that I think are really poignant, really. So I have done something with that.
Absolutely, and I guess that's probably the first one that made me think. I was probably late teens when I heard that one for the first time, and that is one that does get you. That is one that gets you thinking about mental health and loneliness and things like that.
Yeah, I thought it was about domestic violence. It might not be.
But yeah, I mean, that to be honest, the Spiral Carpets and that song. I mean, Adam went through a very sort of indie sort of scene and was very much into sort of the Manchester music scene and stuff, and sort of Stone Roses and Spiral Carpets, Morrissey Smiths and all that. You know, it proper reminds me of Adam. Basically, you know, you used to sort of knock about when we were kids and stuff, and that was, if someone said what was the type of music that Adam's into, that's what it was. It was Manchester sort of indie scene, slightly alternative indie scene sort of thing, and it was. That's what he did, and the Spiral, you know, this is how it feels to be lonely. Is it? This is how it feels to be small. This is what it feels like when the world means nothing at all. Or, you know, so I mean, those lyrics absolutely fit with the message that the message that we're trying to put out. They're brilliant.
Well, we were just saying actually when we lost you from the call that type of music. I don't, and I think we've said this before. Everybody thinks the music from their youth and their time is the greatest music ever. But we're fortunate, actually, that is actually the case.
Yeah. Everybody says that 60s are best. No. Our era was the best.
You know, we are fortunate, like we were just saying there, you won't find the people writing the likes of bloody Harry Styles' lyrics on cards dressed as a fox 10, 15 years from now. I'd like to think not, anyway.
And when you was kids, you had choices. So you could listen to punk, you could listen to ska, you could wear Slazenger jumpers or Fred Perry's and be a mod or a rocker or whatever. And now there doesn't seem much choice. It's the opposite of being diverse. It's really narrow and limited. I know I wear black North Face, but you just have to wear black Nikes with your hand down your pants. It's not into.
It's all it's gang music. It's grime, drill, and it's just like, and they always seem so angry. That's the thing, you know. It's all about it's a turf wars and like having, I say, beef with people, you know, and it's just like it just seems very angry music. Whether that's indicative of the society we now live in and times are changing and all that, and I don't know, and whether or not you could do a real sort of societal study or whatever, I don't know, but it just seems so angry. They're not making music for the love of music. They're making music just because they feel angry. And I just don't get the music these days. I just don't see it.
Maybe just because we're getting on a bit, aren't we?
It probably is.
But there's no choice. There's no choice. You're got to like rap, or what else is there?
Yeah, that's it.
Have records, can you? Bloody hell.
It's true. It's true. I tell you what, then I've got to ask you then. Do you have a bit of a vinyl collection?
I haven't. No. I remember I bought. Early, I got the first Stone Roses 12-inch, that Tell Me So Young, and I kept hold of it for about 25 years, and I sold it on eBay, and I thought, once I got rid of that, I'm not keeping any records anymore, and I got rid of the player, and then I got CDs, and now they're even obsolete.
I know. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. CDs, it's like, you say that to the kids now, it's like, what?
Yeah, what are they?
What are they?
I got rid of all my. I've got a few CDs knocking about, but not many. I've got all my.
You still got your vinyls, haven't you?
I kept my vinyls, yeah. So I have that original Stone and Roses album that I bought way back in 1989 when it first came out. I've got that, and I tell you what, I couldn't part with that. Gee whiz, no. And I've still got a lot of their singles and things like that. I loved Happy Mondays as well back in the day. I've seen Happy Mondays live, and they were fantastic.
I wish the ticket stubs, they'd look smart.
I have got one of their ticket stubs. Very famous gig actually, at Elland Road. They did, and the Happy Mondays were headlining, and they did it with like the Farm, Northside, the Lars, Stereo MCs, and some guy climbed up the lights on the day. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was
Well, the floodlights.
Yeah, some guy climbed up top of the floodlights, was dancing around on top of that. So he must have been on some pretty special
Yeah, I was going to
stuff.
say he thinks he's flying. That bloke does.
Yeah, but I've got that. I've got the ticket stub for that, and that is stuck inside because they did a release of that as well. So I have that on vinyl as well. And I tell you what, yeah, those were heady days back then. They were, and I do remember. I forget which song it was, but it wasn't a particularly new one. And Sean Ryder's there, and he pulls the lyrics out of his pocket. It was fucking hell. This is a new one, and it wasn't. It had been out about 12 months.
But it's strange that you associate types of music. You know, I associate the whole of that, like I say, that era, that genre with Ad, and I wasn't massively into it up until I sort of started knocking about with Ad and, you know, hanging around with Adam, and you sort of start listening to the odd song. And I won't say that I was a massive indie fan. You know, I wouldn't go into sort of listening to loads of albums, but there were certain songs from certain artists, and it might be the slightly more mainstreamy ones, but I sort of listened to a bit. And I'll tell you, I'm not a massive music fan, but when I hear them now, it does take me back to those times when, you know, they were good times back then. It reminds me of being younger and just knocking about with mates and stuff. So, you know, and you associate music with memories and all of that. But they definitely, with the Farm, were they Scouts? Were they Manc? Were they?
Yeah, there was.
Peter
Hooton, yeah.
You see, yeah. So, but you know, hey ho, you've got your Liverpool, Manchester. So it's not quite as sort of dangerous maybe as your East and West Coast American rappers or whatever. But you certainly had your two sort of gangs, didn't you? But you seem to be mainly more Manc, weren't you? But occasionally Scouts.
Yeah, because where we are as well, we're literally just down the road from Manchester as well. Actually, Andy, who's normally with us, he couldn't be with us tonight. Unfortunately, he lives in Stockport as well, so he's we're another proper Manc. So we're getting to round about the hour mark. We're a little bit of disjointed bit.
Apologies
off the call, but I think we're around about the hour mark. So what's the one message you want to get out there, Al? What do you want to say to the listeners of Tall Boy Radio?
Think differently about people who think differently. That's it in a nutshell, really. I do like that.
Yeah, it is.
For a better word.
Yeah, no, it is a really good slogan. It is a really good slogan, and I think the music that you choose as well, and specifically Morrissey. I'm a big Morrissey fan. In case people that were unaware of that, the stuff that he uses lends itself so well to the stuff that you do, and I'm looking forward to see more of it. And you know, we're going to keep sharing it out on our social media as well, because
it's really good. You know, I'm always chuffed when people comment or share it or like it. You know, that's really good. That's really good.
Absolutely. So then, who wants to say their goodbyes first? Al, do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, John, I'll go first. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate your time and your noticing, really, and being interested. I appreciate that. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaza?
Great to have Al on talking about what is a really, really important subject. As I say, I love having guests on our podcasts, just, you know, getting them talking about the things that they're passionate about, and we're pretty true to our word in terms of we'll always try and share and retweet and all of that sort of stuff. So I think for me, just the message backing up what Al's just said is, you know what, go through your messages, just text that guy, text that girl that you haven't texted for a while, just check in, because actually, you know what, that one text might be important to them, and if one text is important to one person, then we've sort of done our job, haven't we?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, 100%. Dude. I think that's a really, really positive thing to come out of that. Like, you know, I was looking for something that we could be leaving with our listeners to do, one difference they can make, get them thinking about things differently. And I think that's it. For me, I'll just leave you with the thought that people are the same everywhere.
Nice one. Thank you.
Thank you.